Welcome to Brooklyn. More importantly, welcome to the entrance of the Brooklyn Bridge Park. This documentary is going to take you a little bit into the creation and the construction of this park, the ideas behind it, but also focus on how the relationship has been with that park and the neighborhood behind the camera, Brooklyn Heights. In 2010, the Brooklyn Bridge Park opened its doors after 2 years of construction and many more years of planning, 65 acres across the waterfront, stretching from the Manhattan Bridge to the Brooklyn Bridge and to the edge of the Brooklyn Heights Promenade. What it has allowed is an opportunity to have waterfront access with parks and playgrounds and restaurants and even movie experiences with the opportunity to even be in the water in a kayak. It's been a really interesting few years, and it's brought so many people to the neighborhood, tourists, other Brooklynites. The governor once described it as something that he wanted to bring people of all neighborhoods together to enjoy. It really has done that, and to some great success. This documentary will talk a little bit about the benefits of that, the sheer gratitude and benefits that the Brooklyn Heights area has had, but also talk a little bit about the con side of it. There's been a lot of backlash, worries of security or traffic. All these issues are now going to come to light, and I'm going to discuss with you in the remainder of this documentary. The start of construction in 2008 was a great moment for many in New York, a sigh of relief. Since the 1980s, this land has been sitting there desolate. It has been shut down as a port authority, as a mainstream of cargo ships coming into New York. And since then, it lay there completely abandoned and unused, a very big waste of the land and the property value that it sat on. Two longtime Brooklyn Heights residents, Mike and Maria, talk a little bit about what it was like after the Port Authority and the cargo ship stopped coming.
The area fell into sort of a abandoned state, and there were piers that people use occasionally to play ball on, and a few places where there were small boats anchored, but actually it wasn't very, very active, but it was quite scenic because it had magnificent sunsets and nature was always beautiful.
However, plans soon developed to have an inclusive park along the waterfront, a very big and dynamic change from what was before. In this attraction, they had playgrounds, gardens, amenities, places to eat and drink, to go and see art, and even to travel to other places in the neighborhood. The historic nature of the park and the grandeur that it was bringing to the New York landscape brought Michael Bloomberg to Brooklyn time and time again to introduce its new openings.
Starting today, New Yorkers and tourists alike will have even more reasons to visit Brooklyn Bridge Park. The 5-acre landing that we are standing on formerly served as a shipping pier, but that pier was languishing, out of use since the early 1980s. And like many long neglected sections of our city waterfront, it had tremendous potential to serve as a place for recreation and community gathering, but nobody was doing anything about it. And like the rest of Brooklyn Bridge Park, this new Pier 5 section, which we're opening today, capitalizes brilliantly on that potential, and we have every reason to be proud of the progress we're making in using these old facilities in our city.
Like you heard Bloomberg discuss, this quickly became an area of community where tourists and locals could come alike and have competitive matches of basketball against each other or watch a movie side by side. Right? There was an air that anyone could come and do anything here, and it was really fun. It was a changing environment for Brooklyn especially. And so what's special about that is what you're here now in this next section is a little bit from the tourist, getting the opportunity to come outside of Manhattan and see the other end of tourism, right? Hear from the local who comes here and scooters around and has the best time of his day in this massive park. You'll also hear a little bit about the local businessman who says his business has boomed since this opportunity is open. Now 10 times the number of people are here, right? So this community has been nothing but a positive for so many people around.
It's an area that we're not familiar with, and he's been before and told us how nice it was and that it was worth coming down.
So we've gone out of the normal situations, doing all the Empire State's buildings and things like that. So we come here to see a different side of New York and see what the people are like around here.
It's beautiful. There are many tourists and the scenery, I think, is awesome. It's beautiful because it's the contrast of huge building and also over there that is nature. So it's awesome.
When it comes to traveling afar, tourists aren't alone. These two kids, Mark and Zach, come over an hour respectively from both the Bronx and from Brooklyn just to get some time to play some basketball.
So the courts are beautiful, it's a nice area, it's great competition. They should come here for about like 3 or 4 hours and then it's just fun to play.
Basically what he said, it's a nice court, it's great competition. A lot of people come out here, it's a nice area, a beautiful view. It's better than the court where I live at.
And for the young Brooklyn Heights resident, it's totally transformed their social life. It's now something that's in their backyard. This is my cousin Josh Avram. Listen to why he talks about Brooklyn Heights Park as his favorite park that he's ever been to.
It's my favorite because it's huge, first of all, and there's a lot of sports, and there's like made for sports. Like all of the parks, usually parks have like grassy fields or jungle gyms, but that's not like made for sports. Like there's no basketball hoops, like there's no canoeing areas, like all of that stuff. And then at Brooklyn Bridge Park, there is that stuff.
Now, the park is great. It's a great plus. My grandchildren, my children, and I occasionally enjoy it, but there's a huge price to pay, like everything else. And I think on balance, I have to say that if I would have to do it all over again, I would live at Fallow and make it very rustic, primitive, very old New York.
And there's actually quite a big number of people who have that same mentality. A lot of the newcomers to this neighborhood love the idea, this opportunity and this resource, but some of the older folks who have been here for a while remember why initially they bought into Brooklyn Heights instead of Manhattan. And it was really for streets like this, right? For the serenity and an oasis from the bustling New York City, from the Madison Avenue Midtown of all the tourists. They see Brooklyn Bridge Park as actually bringing to them exactly what they were trying to avoid. And seemingly on cue, while to no one's disturbance, I noticed a man walking up to me and taking photos of the neighborhood. On the block that I once grew up at, I never would have seen this 10 years before.
It's too crowded, frankly, much too crowded. The cars have no place to park. We are invaded by influx of traffic, unbelievable. And all of that took away a lot from the peaceful neighborhoods that we grew up and lived there before.
While it'll always be debated whether or not the Brooklyn Bridge Park was a force for good or bad in the neighborhood, it is agreed upon, and unanimously so, that Brooklyn Heights has been forced to change. I'm of the opinion that the benefits of this allocation of land strongly outweigh the negative. Nevertheless, there will always be residents, especially those of older generations, who are nostalgic for the past of what Brooklyn Heights used to be.